Hello, today we are going to talk about saving persistent data, especially based on an app. So we're going to use future access lists and local settings in order to save all your information based on your app. So in other words, if the app goes away and comes back up, it keeps all that data. If you bring up another app, it doesn't look at any of that data you saved with the first app. So if you look at our recent version of File Snatch, basically where we want to save most of the time is with this button. So we are going to save essentially all these settings, things of this nature. So when I save it, I'm going to give it a name, and then I'm going to save all those pieces. And in the old File Snatch, what we used to do was take all this, use an XML writer, and write them to an XML file, which is good if you like to do that, because I remember having these old session files we used to update and do manually as opposed to doing via some type of executable. So it'd be kind of a quick way to fix everything or edit something. But the problem was is if we did it wrong or somebody else got access to that, we could get a corrupt file or, worse yet, some type of bug. Now, the first step sets up the dialog box, which we'll talk about in another video. But from this part, we're going to use this big long thing. So we're going to call local settings. Again, you're going to need Windows storage to a using statement. So I can just truncate this later. It's a lot easier to set that up. We'll skip over this guy and we'll go straight here to these two lines. And really what I try to do in our app here is use a parallel array type of mentality. So I have this thing called save file. I have a number associated with this. This is an integer. And I take that integer, turn it to a string, then put it at the end of save file. So I get save file 1, save file 2, et cetera, et cetera. And then I will take that and make a whole bunch of files numbered 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Now, the first thing we do is use the local settings. And local settings is good, but it's good for storing string and a couple of things. But basically, it's not going to be able to do what we want it to do for the rest of File Snatch. So I set fname, which, as you can see, is going to be a string, and store it in there so I have a name for all these settings that I've done with File Snatch. But now here's where we get the cool stuff, the future access list. And yes, you do have to type all this out. You can truncate it if you want, doing a method similar to that, but I wanted to show the full length here. So here we're doing the short length because we did local settings. For this local settings, you could do likewise for the future access list. But here I'm going to use the full length here where we do Windows storage, similar to the old ones. We're going to do access cache versus application data, but the key word here is future access list. And add or replace does just that. It adds or replaces that new value. The nice thing about this is that I am storing a folder name and putting it in there. So I have that ability to not just store a string, but an actual folder placement. Let's bring up File Snatch again. So when I do a load, actually, let's just do it. Let's just call this one a test folder. It doesn't have to do anything. We'll just do tests or default, if I can spell it right. And let's save. And so when I bring it up, there's the default. That comes from the local settings. But watch if I turn off or do all this stuff. MP3. If I do a click on default and load it, it gets rid of all that unstored stuff and puts the original stuff in there. So all those settings get put into this proper directory, gets put up here. So in other words, I could change this directory. I could change this directory. And if I do a load again, it gets rid of those two. It puts the original ones in there. Now, since a lot of those variables can be saved as strings, that's exactly what I do with the local settings. And again, here we go. I am going to use that kind of parallel array mentality where everything gets saved to a specific number. All these values come directly from all these buttons that I've pushed. So this is a value, this is a value, this is a value, and I can just set them as whatever variable, in this case a string variable, and set that out. And that's basically it. So I use the future access list to save an object, or in this case a folder, and then I use the uh, local settings to save the individual values associated with that folder name. And then we're good. Thank you. Hey, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. This would help us out greatly. If you'd like to support us in other ways, our app is available for purchase at digitaltumult.com or the Microsoft Store. See the links below. We appreciate your support. Thanks.